Hello everybody, it's Mrs. Pound. We are studying chapter 5.1 on the cardiovascular, digestive, and immune systems from Purposeful Designs Life Science. Today we're going to talk about the last section in this chapter, section 5.1.4 on the immune system. So we're done with this chapter, so you should be starting to prepare for your test. Our objectives today will be to explain how the immune system responds to pathogens, describe the body's first line of defense, and distinguish between passive and active immunity. So immunity, what is it? This is the body's natural defense against invaders, whether that invader be a virus, a bacteria, a protist, it can be a fungus, it can be any number of things, but it is the body's natural defense. Because God gave us incredible bodies that are able to fight those invaders. Now, the body's first line of defense is the skin. And in the skin, the very outermost layer tends to be dead skin cells. And that's important because viruses need live skin cells to activate. And so if the first thing they encounter is a dead skin cell, they will simply attach to that cell and then flake off and not cause any harm. The skin also produces substances that are designed to kill invaders as well. The second line of defense is mucus, which we have inside of our nose, inside of our throat, and other places, and that is sticky, gunky stuff that is meant to capture invaders before they get any further. And then another line of defense are platelets, and these platelets close up wounds so that when we get a cut or a scratch or anything, that wound gets closed up so invaders cannot get in. Another thing that is part of the immune system is the lymphatic system. And lymph is a clear or yellowish fluid that passes through the lymph vessels. And sometimes when you get sick, your lymph nodes will become swollen, and you will say that you have swollen glands. Now, this girl is touching her throat there because one place you have lymph nodes that become sore when you get sick is right in your neck. And so that's where you usually see those swollen glands that swell up really big. Another place you have lymph nodes is underneath your arms, in your armpits. And so you might notice that area becoming sore if you are ill. And another place that you have lymph nodes is in your groin area, just inside your thighs. So your upper legs may become sore as well when you are sick, because that's an area where there are lymph nodes as well, and it's part of your immune system. It has to do with white blood cells. Part of the lymphatic system, too, is the spleen. And the spleen is this pinkish organ that's highlighted back here. It's a lymph organ located behind and above the stomach that acts as a large blood filter. So when the lymph fluid goes through the spleen filters out those invaders. It also filters out old red blood cells and recycles them. So it's actually a very important organ, although you can live without your spleen, but it does have important tasks in the lymph system and also in the immune system. So how does the immune system respond to pathogens? And remember, pathogens are disease-causing organisms. So when a pathogen gets in the body, it is engulfed by a macrophage, and that's a cell like in the background, which sticks pieces of the pathogen on its surface. So we don't see this, but the macrophage actually like swallows, kind of like when we were watching that amoeba moving its pseudopods. It's kind of like an amoeba, and it moves its pseudopods around the pathogen, and then it takes pieces of the pathogen off and puts it on the surface of itself. So macrophages are large white blood cells that engulf pathogens. These antigens activate helper T cells, which release chemicals to multiply the T cells and B cells. So those pieces that the macrophage attaches to itself are called antigens. And its purpose is to put those antigens out there to activate other things in the immune system. So an antigen is a substance that causes the immune system to produce antibodies. And actually, these COVID tests, the rapid test at home, what they test for are, in fact, antigens. It's a chemical reaction that tests for the antigens. And so if you get a T line that shows up, then you have that antigen in your body. T cells are white blood cells that mature in the thymus and coordinate the immune system by releasing certain chemicals. Now, the thymus is actually a part of the lymph system, so that produces the T cells. They also trigger killer T cells. Killer T cells attack the pathogen infected cell. So just like its name, it kills the pathogen. Antibodies attach to the pathogen, marking it for other immune system cells to destroy. So these Y-shaped things, these are antibodies, and it will attach to these projections out of the virus. Those are on the pathogen, and it will find sites where it attaches to mark it as an invader, kind of like spray painting it and saying, here, this is what you're supposed to be attacking. Antibodies are proteins that attach to specific pathogens. So these are very specific. These are, and this looks a lot like COVID-19. So these antibodies are only for COVID-19. They're not for other viruses. Now, when the pathogens are gone, the suppressor T cells turn off all the T cells and B cells. So suppressor, when you suppress something, you put it down. So these are telling everything, okay, we're not in danger anymore. It's all gone. Time to deactivate. Okay, and so you've had a war going on in your body, and now it's like, oh, we have peace. Okay, because all of the things happening in your body when you're sick, actually the sore throat, the fever, the aches, and all that stuff, those are actually not caused by the pathogen. Those are the response of your immune system. And so you want all of that turned off so that you're feeling better again. Now, there are two types of immunity. The first is active immunity, and this results from your body's own B cells making antibodies. So this happens, you gain active immunity by actually becoming ill, or actually by vaccines. So you receive vaccines so that your body will respond to antigens, whether they're dead or alive. If they're alive, they're weakened so that your body can easily fight them, and to produce antibodies that are going through your body so that your body can recognize it much faster the next time and you do not get sick. There's also passive immunity, and this is disease resistance that comes from antibodies produced by someone else. People receive these from their mother through the placenta after or just before they're born, through breast milk, as these piglets are getting from their mother, and also we can receive things like rabies antibodies. So they can take the antibodies from somebody else's blood and give them to you to fight diseases like rabies. Say if you get bitten by a rabid animal, then they will give you shots of antibodies so that you will live. And this is also important. This is a good reason for breastfeeding because you are passing on immunity to your child. So our objectives today were to explain how the immune system responds to pathogens, describe the body's first line of defense, and distinguish between passive and active immunity. So don't forget your 5 questions in your notes and keep watching this video to answer the questions at the end.